All right, so are you ready for that big operations coordinator interview in 2025? Well, today we're going to dive deep into some sources you sent over to help you really nail it.
You know, it's more than just knowing all the answers.
Right.
It's about how to present yourself as the ideal candidate. And you might be surprised by this.
Okay.
One of our sources actually emphasizes personality and critical thinking,
Really?
just as much as technical know-how.
Hmm, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that really mean for this role?
Well, it's interesting because the operations coordinator role now has become so central to everything.
Yeah.
It's like being the conductor of an orchestra. You
Okay.
have to make sure all the different parts of a company work together seamlessly.
Right.
You've got logistics, you've got communication, you've got
Uh-huh.
strategy,
Oh, wow.
all these moving pieces that you need to show you can handle.
So how do you show you can conduct this operational orchestra
Uh-huh. I like
in
that.
an interview setting?
Yeah.
I mean, our sources break down the types of questions you'll likely face, and it's a real mix.
Yeah.
There are behavioral questions, like those tell me about a time you improved a process questions,
Right.
which really dig into your past experiences.
Yeah, and those can be tricky because anyone can say they're a problem solver.
Oh, totally.
Interviewers, they want to hear specifics.
Okay.
So imagine someone responding with a story about how they streamlined a process
Yeah,
and then saved the company thousands of dollars.
right.
That's impactful.
It's like you're telling a mini success story, right?
Exactly.
So how do we prep for this interview storytelling session?
Well, research is key,
Yeah.
but it's got to be targeted research.
Okay.
Don't just skim the company's website like everybody else.
Right.
Dig into those recent press releases.
Okay.
Look for articles that highlight their operational challenges.
Mm.
Then you can go into the interview with potential solutions already in mind
Oh, wow.
based on your experience.
That's smart.
That shows you're thinking ahead.
Wow, that's a great tip. It's like showing up with a gift, except the gift is solving their problems.
Exactly.
I like it. Our sources also emphasize the importance of understanding operational best practices
Yes?
and KPIs,
Yeah.
those key performance indicators that measure success.
Hmm.
But I'm curious, how do those KPIs change in a world that's becoming more automated and data-driven?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Traditional KPIs might focus on things like production output or on-time delivery.
Right.
But now with AI and machine learning playing a bigger role,
Yeah.
you might need to show you understand KPIs
Okay.
related to algorithm efficiency or predictive accuracy.
So you need to show you're not just comfortable with the technology, but that you can measure its impact on the business.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into some specific questions.
Okay.
Our sources highlight a few that really stand out,
All right.
starting with, how do you manage and prioritize tasks in a fast-paced environment?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a classic for a reason, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
They're testing your organizational skills
Mm-hmm.
and your ability to handle pressure.
Okay.
But remember, anyone can say they're organized.
Yeah,
You need a system.
you need a system.
Yeah.
Oh,
One of our sources recommends using something called a Kanban system.
okay.
You familiar with that?
I am, but for those who aren't, can you explain what that is and how it might impress an interviewer?
So a Kanban system is a visual way to manage workflow.
Okay.
So imagine like a board with columns representing different stages of a project,
Okay.
like to do, in progress, and done.
I see.
Tasks are written on cards and moved across the board as they progress.
Okay.
It helps with transparency and keeps everyone on the same page.
Gotcha.
In an interview, mentioning that you use Kanban or a similar system
Yeah.
shows you have a method for staying on top of things, especially when things get hectic.
So it's not just about saying you're organized.
Right.
It's about showing you have a tangible process. I like it. Now, how would you suggest structuring an answer to this question using a specific example?
Well, the STAR method is your friend here.
Okay.
Situation, task, action, result.
Right.
You want to set the scene with a specific high-pressure situation from your past.
Okay.
Outline the task you had to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
Describe the actions you took.
Yeah.
And highlight the positive results you achieved.
But how do we make it stand out?
Yeah.
Make it memorable? It's easy to say I used a to-do list,
Right.
but that's not very exciting.
Exactly. This is where you need to bring in specifics
Okay.
and tailor it to the company.
Okay.
Let's say you're interviewing for a company known for rapid product development.
Mm-hmm.
You could talk about a time when a last-minute bug threatened a major product launch.
Okay.
You could describe using a project management tool like Asana to reassign tasks,
Right.
communicate changes to stakeholders,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately get the launch back on track.
That's a great example. You're not just listing skills, you're telling a story that demonstrates how you think and act under pressure.
Exactly.
Now, for our listener, what unique experiences could you highlight?
Yeah.
What systems have you used to stay organized in challenging situations?
hmm
Take a moment to reflect on that.
Yeah. Think about that.
Okay, so we've talked about staying organized under pressure,
Right.
but what about those times when you need to identify a problem and actually improve a process?
Yeah.
Our sources indicate that's another key area interviewers will focus on.
It's not enough to just follow instructions anymore.
Right.
Operations coordinators need to be proactive.
hmm
They need to see where things can be optimized.
Okay.
So a common question that gets at this is, can you give an example of a process you improved and the outcome?
And I bet they don't just want to hear, I made things better, right?
You need specifics.
Okay.
What was the problem? How did you identify it? What data did you analyze?
Yeah.
Did you have to dive into those Excel spreadsheets? Did you use any visualization tools to make your case?
Okay.
And crucially, what was the quantifiable result of your improvement?
Right.
Did you save the company time or money?
Uh-huh.
Did you increase efficiency by a measurable percentage?
Those numbers really tell the story, don't they?
Good eat.
One of our sources gave an example about inventory management.
Okay.
The candidate noticed delays were happening because of the old system,
Right.
and they implemented a Kanban approach.
Okay.
They actually presented data showing it reduced restock time by 30%
Oh,
and decreased overstocking costs by 10%.
that's great.
Powerful stuff.
It's that connection to the company's bottom line that makes the example strong.
Totally.
So for you listening, think about times you spotted inefficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you streamlined a workflow or introduced a new tool that saved everyone hours of work.
Right.
Have those concrete examples ready to share.
Now, switching gears a bit, a lot of our sources emphasize collaboration.
Yeah.
Operations coordinators aren't working in silos. They're connecting with tons of different departments.
Exactly.
How might that show up in an interview question?
You might get asked something like, describe a time you coordinated a project across multiple departments.
Okay.
How did you ensure effective communication?
Interesting.
It's all about demonstrating your leadership and communication skills,
Okay.
even if you weren't officially the project manager.
So it's not just about getting the work done.
Right.
It's about getting it done with others.
Yeah.
And making sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly.
One source mentioned a great example of coordinating the rollout of a new CRM system.
Okay.
The candidate set up a clear communication plan
Mhm.
with regular meetings and a shared timeline, and they ended up implementing the system ahead of schedule.
Wow. Impressive.
That kind of example shows you can handle both the technical side
Yeah,
and the people side of a project,
that's key.
which is crucial for an operations coordinator.
It is.
Now think about your own experience.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to work with people from different departments to achieve a common goal? What were your key takeaways? How did you handle disagreements?
Right.
Those are valuable stories to have in your back pocket.
Absolutely. Even if you haven't led a huge project,
Right.
any experience collaborating across teams is relevant.
Speaking of handling tricky situations, our sources also say to be prepared for questions about dealing with the unexpected.
Oh, yeah.
In operations, things rarely go perfectly to plan, right?
Right. Interviewers want to see that you can adapt
Okay.
and problem solve on the fly.
Right.
They might ask, how do you handle unexpected changes or emergencies in operations?
It's like having a plan, but then being able to improvise when that plan goes out the window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of our sources gave the example of a power outage disrupting a warehouse during peak season.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. The operations coordinator immediately went into action,
Okay.
implemented their contingency plan.
Okay.
They switched to manual inventory tracking,
Oh, wow.
reassigned tasks to other areas,
Uh-huh.
and got things back up and running within hours.
Wow.
Minimal impact on orders going out. A real success story.
That's impressive. It highlights not just quick thinking, but also having that plan in place to begin with.
Exactly.
So think about a time you faced a sudden crisis at work.
Yeah.
What did you learn from it? How did you stay calm and take charge?
Right.
These are the stories that demonstrate your resilience.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about technical skills.
Okay.
These are becoming increasingly important for operations coordinators,
Yeah.
especially as technology continues to evolve at a rapid pace.
It's not just about knowing how to use the tools,
Right.
but understanding how they impact the overall operation, right?
Absolutely. You might get a question like, what tools and technologies are you proficient in that support operational coordination?
Okay.
And this is your chance to really shine.
Right.
But don't just rattle off a list of software.
Okay.
But talk about how you've used these tools to achieve results.
One source mentioned being proficient in something like Microsoft Dynamics for ERP tasks and Smartsheet for project management, but they didn't stop there.
Right.
They went on to explain how they use those tools to reduce order processing time by a significant margin.
Exactly. That's the key, connecting your technical skills to tangible outcomes.
I see.
For our listener, think about the tools you use on a daily basis. Are you a spreadsheet whiz? Do you have experience with CRM systems or automation platforms?
Right.
Highlight your skills and then think about specific instances where you use them to improve a process or solve a problem.
So it's about showing you're not just tech savvy,
Right.
but that you can apply that knowledge to make a real difference.
Exactly.
Now, I know attention to detail is crucial in operations.
Yeah.
Even small mistakes can have big consequences down the line.
Absolutely.
How can you demonstrate that meticulousness in an interview?
You're right. Accuracy is paramount. An interviewer might ask, how do you ensure compliance with company policies and industry regulations in your work?
Okay.
They want to see that you're not just aware of the rules,
All right.
but you're proactive about following them.
One source gave a great example of creating a compliance checklist for every project.
That's good.
That way you're not just reacting to issues, you're anticipating them.
Exactly. It shows you have a system in place to avoid errors and ensure everything is done by the book.
For you listening, how do you approach compliance in your current role?
Yeah.
Do you double-check your work? Do you regularly review procedures? Highlight those habits that demonstrate your commitment to accuracy.
Okay, now let's talk data.
Okay.
Our sources indicate that data analysis is becoming a core skill for operations coordinators.
Yeah. Why is that?
Operations is becoming increasingly data-driven.
Right.
You need to be able to analyze information, spot trends, and make decisions based on evidence, not just intuition. A common question is, can you discuss a time when you had to analyze data to make an operational decision?
This is where those Excel skills come in handy.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's more than just crunching numbers. It's about drawing meaningful insights
Right.
and presenting them in a way that others can understand.
Walk the interviewer through your process.
Exactly.
What data did you gather? What tools did you use to analyze it? Maybe you used pivot tables in Excel, or maybe you created visualizations to tell the story.
Yeah.
Most importantly, what were the key takeaways that led to a better outcome?
Right.
One of our sources shared a great example.
Okay.
They analyzed customer service call data to identify peak times and recurring issues. They then used that data to recommend staffing changes and additional training.
Okay.
Result,
Yeah.
a 15% improvement in call resolution times.
Wow, that's huge.
That's the kind of impact that gets noticed.
It's a great example of how data analysis can lead to real measurable improvements. Now, for our listener, think about a time you used data to make a decision that benefited your team or organization.
Okay.
What were the challenges you faced?
Right.
How did you communicate your findings? What was the impact?
I think this highlights how the operations coordinator role is becoming so strategic.
Yeah.
It's not just about keeping things running smoothly. It's about constantly looking for ways to improve, be more efficient, more effective.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And another aspect of that strategic thinking involves vendor management.
Okay.
Strong supplier relationships are critical for any operation.
So how might that come up in an interview?
Yeah.
What should our listener be prepared to discuss?
The interviewer might ask something like, what is your approach to vendor management and maintaining strong supplier relationships?
Interesting.
It's your opportunity to show you can build and nurture partnerships that benefit both sides.
It's not just about getting the best price. It's about fostering collaboration and open communication.
Right. Exactly. One of our sources shared an example of implementing quarterly performance reviews with key suppliers.
Okay.
This allowed them to identify areas for improvement and strengthen those relationships.
Oh, I see.
In one case, it even led to renegotiating payment terms that were more favorable for both parties.
Oh, wow.
It's a win-win situation.
That's a great example of thinking strategically about those vendor relationships. They're not just transactions. They're partnerships that need to be cultivated.
Exactly.
Now, for you listening, think about your experiences working with vendors. How do you approach communication and negotiation? How do you build trust and rapport?
Remember, vendor management is all about creating mutually beneficial relationships.
Okay.
It's about finding solutions that work for everyone involved.
Right.
And that same collaborative spirit is essential when it comes to the next phase of the interview process,
Okay.
which we'll dive into after a quick break.
So we've covered a lot of ground, from technical skills to handling those emergencies.
Yeah.
But our sources all agree on one thing.
Okay.
A successful interview
Mm-hmm.
isn't just about answering questions, it's about asking them too.
That's right. Asking thoughtful questions shows you're engaged, you're curious, and you're not just looking for any job.
Right.
You're looking for the right job.
It's like you're interviewing them too, in a way.
Exactly.
You're gathering information to see if this company is a good fit for you.
Mm-hmm.
But what kind of questions really impress interviewers?
Well, one of our sources suggests asking,
Okay.
could you elaborate on the typical day-to-day responsibilities of an operations coordinator here?
Okay.
It seems basic,
Yeah.
but it shows you're genuinely interested in the nitty-gritty of the role.
It also gives you a clearer picture of what your life would actually be like in that position.
Right.
Another question I saw that I thought was really smart was, what are some of the current operational challenges the team is facing? And how can an operations coordinator contribute to overcoming them?
That's a great one. It shows you're a problem solver. You're already thinking about how you can add value from day one.
Right.
And it ties back to that targeted research we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
If you've already read about some of their challenges, you can even tailor your question to those specifics.
That would definitely make you stand out.
It would.
It shows you've done your homework and you're ready to hit the ground running.
Exactly.
Our sources also recommend asking about KPIs,
Yeah.
those key performance indicators we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Something like, how does the company measure success for this role, and what are the key metrics I'd be responsible for?
Asking about KPIs demonstrates that you're results-oriented.
Right.
You understand that your performance will be evaluated, and you're eager to know what the expectations are.
These are all fantastic questions.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, have you ever heard a question from a candidate that really surprised you in a good way?
You know, once I was interviewing someone for an operations coordinator role,
Okay.
and they asked,
Mm-hmm.
what's the biggest risk the company is facing right now from an operational standpoint?
Wow.
It caught me off guard, I'll admit,
Yeah.
but it led to a really interesting conversation.
Right.
And it showed me that this candidate was thinking strategically beyond just the day-to-day tasks.
That's such a good example. So for our listener, what's that one question you could ask that would make you memorable?
Right.
Something that sparks a genuine conversation and shows you're thinking critically about the company and the role.
Now, stepping back from the specific questions,
Mm-hmm.
all of our sources highlight the importance of conveying certain traits
Yeah.
throughout the interview process.
Like what?
They all mentioned organizational skills, adaptability, strong communication,
Yeah.
and a knack for problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one thing that stood out to me.
What was that?
It's the emphasis on being tech savvy,
Okay.
but not just in a superficial way.
Right.
Operations coordinators in 2025
Yeah.
need to show they understand how technology is transforming the field.
So it's not just about listing software you've used. It's
Right.
about demonstrating a deeper understanding of how technology is impacting operations as a whole.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to touch on things like automation, data analytics,
Mm-hmm.
even AI and machine learning.
Right.
How can you leverage these tools to improve efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
reduce costs, and make better decisions?
It's about showing you're not just keeping up with technology, you're actively thinking about how to use it to drive the business forward.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some final pieces of advice you'd give to our listener to really nail that interview?
First and foremost, remember that the operations coordinator role is dynamic and evolving.
Okay.
Show that you're adaptable, you're a continuous learner, and you're excited to be at the forefront of those changes.
Second, research. Go deep, Desvey. Understand the company's challenges and come prepared to offer solutions.
Third, practice your storytelling. Use the STAR method to structure your answers, quantify your achievements, and bring your experiences to life.
And finally, remember to be yourself. Let your personality shine through.
Yes.
Enthusiasm and a genuine passion for the field can go a long way.
We've given you a lot to think about.
We have.
But remember, the most important thing is to be confident in your abilities.
Yeah.
You've got this.
We're so glad you joined us for this deep dive into the world of operations coordinator interviews.
Yes.
We hope you feel empowered and ready to tackle that next interview with confidence.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions or want to share your interview success stories, don't hesitate to reach out.
Best of luck on your operations coordinator journey.
Yes.
We're cheering you on.